You're not the only one who has experienced this. At the beginning of my trading career, I actually tried to trade with trend lines and it went so bad for me. I actually performed extremely awful when it came to trading with trend lines. It went on being very difficult for me until I found this hack, until I found this extremely simple and strategic way to use trend lines to trade. In today's video, I'll be revealing to you the only way I think you should actually trade with trend lines. This will be the most straightforward, simplest and explicit video you'll ever see on trend lines. At the end of this video, your whole understanding with regards to trend lines will change and will become extremely simplified. So stay with me from start to finish, pay close attention to every concept I use on here, and then feel free to ask whatever questions you have in the comments. If you're here with me, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also make sure you like this video, share with as many retail traders you know as possible. We'll be right back. So just like I said in the intro, today I'll be taking you through my trend line strategy. I'm sure some of you might be new, some of the concepts I use might be difficult for you to understand, but just stay with me till the end and everything will make sense. So someone will say, what is a trend line? A trend line is basically a line which you draw to, identify trends on the market. There's a way that we can actually catch trades, whether the market is in an uptrend or a downtrend, with this simple reversal strategy, which is a trend line. There's a concept I actually used to take a trade with my community yesterday, and we are currently running over 80 pips of profit on this simple trading position. You know how I always do it. Most of the videos I do here, about 90% of them are actually trades I've taken in real time with myself, my mentees, and my entire trading community. So if you're here, you want to be part of this elite exclusive trading group, trading community, just click on the link in my description to join the Common Forex trading community. We have over 12,000 active traders trading with me on a daily basis. Without wasting my time, let's jump right into the charts. You see AUD USD on your screen, and I use my simple trend line strategy, combining it with my support and then my resistance. One of the things that makes me an extremely skilled trader is how I'm able to find confluences on trades I take. So you see clearly, I actually took this sell with my resistance as well as my trend line. The confluence was between both of them, and I also applied my candlesticks pattern as well. Just take you back on how I actually took this trade, on the various rules I always obey with regards to trend lines. Like I said from the beginning, the market can either be in an uptrend or a downtrend, and with trend lines we are able to catch trades in any trend in the market. Basic rules I always follow with regards to trend lines: point of inception point, and then you need the second touch, because when we talk of a line is simply a connection of 2 points. So you also need a second touch to draw your trend line. Your third touch is basically where you take your trade. This is how I apply my trend line. Remember, like I said, in my support and my resistance, when I mark out my support zone or my resistance zone, the second touch into that particular zone is where I find my entry to find a reversal trade over there. So with the trend line, I actually wait for a third touch because I want to actually establish it's indeed a trend. So now we have our 3 main rules for the trend line. So after these main rules, now I look out for my confirmation, whatever I use as my confluence. So I basically look at how the candlesticks consolidate there, as well as my candlestick pattern to find my entry at the third touch. Now let's just use these concepts to now draw a typical trend line. Like we said, we need an inception point. So now first one, our uptrend here, and then we want our downtrend here. So we want our point of inception. It means that the beginning of the trend, the first point. So you realize that now this is our first point you have here. So like we said, you need a second point to be able to draw a trend line. So what does it mean? We want the market to give us another second point in the uptrend. Once we have that, all we need to do next is to draw a trend line connecting both points. Draw your trend line and then just extend it into the future. The same thing also goes for the downtrend as well. So with a downtrend, you also want your point of inception as well as what your second point to draw your trend line. Then what do you do next? You just draw your trend line connecting both points, because now you can clearly see it is a downtrend. So right after drawing this trend line, you realize that now this is my uptrend, this is my downtrend. Another name I actually give for them, which are the main types of trend line, this becomes my support trend line. Because one secret hack I used to trade my my trend line is that I treat it just like I treat my support and then my resistance. You guys know how important my support and my resistance zones are for me. And then this one is a resistance trend line, because the market fails to break this trend line at the top, so you are basically looking for a sell just like you do for your normal support and your resistance. So your uptrend is known as what a support trend line, your downtrend is also known as what your resistance trend line. So now let me come back. We have our first touch, which is our point A here, our second touch, which is our point B here. Then we come to the resistance trend line. So it's the same concept for both scenarios. Your first touch is your point A, and then your second touch is basically your point B. So what this all means is, after doing this, just leave the market to do the rest. I always say this: simplify your trading as much as possible. You know how I trade. I do more of what works and I do less of what doesn't. Less is more. So always try to do the simplest thing as possible. So after basically drawing my support and my resistance trend line, all I need to do is to just wait for the market to just come and hit my trend line. So when it gets to my trend line, I try and see if I can find a bullish presence in the case of my support trend line, if I'll get a nice confirmation for a buy, or if I'll get a nice confirmation for a sell. So just like how you trade your support and your resistance, just apply the same concept when finding an entry on your trend line as well. Same exact concept. The only difference here is you're actually just waiting for a third touch. Same, you're actually also just looking for a third touch. What does this mean? It means that now all you want is for the market to hit it for the third touch. You have a nice confirmation here, then it means that you are taking your buy here. So all this means is now you are taking your buy here with your stop loss right at the bottom of this range. That's how you actually trade with the support trend line. And then for the resistance trend line, same concept. You wait for a third touch. So when the market hits it for the third touch and you see significant bearish presence and then your confirmation, what does this mean? It means that now you have your sell here with your stop loss. You need to have a confirmation for it first. So with your stop loss right on top of the range, it's just like how you trade your support and then your resistance. And then your take profit levels are all based on the structure of the market. So all you need, the most important thing for your trend line is what happens at point C, which is your third touch. The most important thing, for your trend line is what happens at point C, which is your third touch. So as you can see, this is how I actually apply my trend line. So depending on how the market travels, you can actually have an inner trend line forming in any trend line, in any scenario, or even an outer trend line. Let me just go back and summarize everything I've explained here. You understand that it's very, 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 very simple. So like I say, with your trend lines, if you are trying to draw your trend line, the first thing you need is your inception point or your point of inception. Then you make sure you have your second touch or your second point to draw your trend line, like we see here. So you have your first point. The moment the market gives you a second point, you just draw a trend line connecting both points, then you extend into the future. Once you do that, all you need to do next is simply wait for the market to come back and then hit your trend line. So as you can see here, the market could have easily hit this trend line. Once it hits it, you come and see if you can actually get significant bullish presence confirmation for a buy. There can also be a breakout. So same break and then retest we have for support and resistance, we also have them for trend lines, but I'll come back to them in another video. For today, we are simply just looking at a reversal on the trend line. It means that now we are simply expecting a reversal on the third touch here. Simply expecting another reversal on the third touch here. So you realize that it's the same concepts over and over and over and over again. Nothing changes. Just stick to the basics, simplify your trading, and then trust me, everything will be as easy and then as simple as possible. Your stop loss is always there for a reason. In case you are wrong in a trade, that is why you actually set your stop loss. Apply it, your risk management, and then you should be fine. So after this, now let's go back to the chart. So I explained to you how I took the trade in real time. So as you guys know, how I always trade, anytime I open my chart, the first thing I want to actually mark out is my resistance and then my support. My most recent high here as my resistance, my most recent low here as my support. Then what do I do next? I zoom out and see if I can actually spot any trend in the market. So realize that I have a trend line coming from all the way up here. So this is the inception of this trend, because it started at the end of this uptrend. So this is our point of inception, which was our point A, our second touch here, which is our point B, and then finally our third touch here. which is our point C. So once we do that, you just come to the most recent market, scenario, then you pay attention to what happens here now. So now let's zoom in, come back to our most recent. Once you're done trading on this point C, which is your third touch, now it becomes your new second touch. So now this becomes your point B, your new point B, where you wait for another third touch on this trend line again, as you can see clearly here. So now we are waiting for another third touch on this trend line. What we do is simply just wait, because our trend line is actually extended into the future. You know what I always say when it comes to trading with alerts. So you can simply just tap on this trend line, and then you come here, add alerts, then you just set an alert with this tool here. It means that you don't have to be seated by your charts 24/7. Hell, you don't even need to carry your laptop along with you. All you need to do is to just make sure you have TradingView on your phone. So at any key level you mark out on your charts, any alert you set, you can be anywhere. You simply receive a notification when the market gets to your key level. Then you can just come in and then apply your confirmation and then take your trade. That's simply good to go. You are fine. So trading is not stressful, guys. Just try and reduce the stress, stick to the basics as much as possible. So now we simply just wait for the market to tap into any of our key levels. As you can see, I have my support, resistance, my trend line here. So I want the market to tap into any of my key levels. What do you see? It gets to my third touch, which is also on my trend line. At the same time, you can see an intersection between my resistance and then my third touch. So now all I need to do next is to simply wait for my confirmation, which simply happened here, as you can see clearly. So right after getting your confirmation, what do you do next? You simply just bring your risk to reward. So you know where to set your stop loss, you know where to actually set your take profit when taking your trade. Then you just bring it all. So you realize that you can see clearly here, I use the structure of the market for everything I do. So now I have my stop loss. TP1, like I always say, should be how much you risk on any trade you take. So my TP1 here, my TP2 here. Then if I want to swing it, I hold it all the way here. But I make sure my stop loss is an entry when I'm in significant profits, so as not to be at risk of losing money in my trading capital when I was already in profits. So now we just wait for the market to do the rest. You can see clearly the market did the rest. We hit TP1 and then we're currently sitting on TP2, as you can clearly see on this chart. So currently my stop loss is at my entry. So the community is in about 80 pips, but I'm in about 90 pips on this trading setup, and a lot of money has been made. You can see screenshots of profits that various mentees and subscribers made on this trade as well. So this is how I actually apply my trend lines. As I promised you from the beginning, it is extremely simplified, straightforward, explicit, easy to understand. Always make sure you stick to the basics when you are taking your trades, just to reduce the unnecessary stress you have to go through. Always have the patience to wait for your confirmation anytime you take your trades. So as you can clearly see, I simply just waited for my third touch. If I didn't have my third touch, I still could have been able to take this trade with my resistance, because you can see this zone is clearly a resistance. So there was a confluence between my trend line and then my resistance on this trade, and I'm currently sitting at TP2, hoping to see if the market will keep going up. So currently my stop loss is at entry. I'm still holding to see if it's going to actually break out and come and touch my final take profit. Then I can decide whether to close the trades or to hold it for more long-term moves. If you find this video extremely helpful, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also make sure you like this video, share with as many traders as possible. Also click on the link in the description to join the Common Forex trading community, where I share daily trading insights with my mentees and then subscribers. You can keep up with me on my socials: Common Forex on Instagram, Common Forex on Twitter, Common Forex on TikTok, Common Forex on Telegram. As always, thank you for tuning into this one. See you in the next one.